Hey everyone! Today I'm going to explain the fastest way to farm the maximum difficulty, Torment 12, in Diablo 4, Lord of Hatred. More precisely, I'll show you a Chain Lightning Sorcerer build that is the most convenient for clearing all the content in the game. The previous build was a Ball Lightning build, which is the strongest in the game. This one, the Chain Lightning build, is the most convenient. It's convenient because no other build hits as far as Chain Lightning does. Look, in this build, 795 trillion damage is at your disposal with these items. A couple of my glyphs are only level 130, but everything still works perfectly. As a quick preface, I'll say right away that this build is very similar to the previous one. And that's not my fault. This is exactly what Blizzard wanted. And even if I were making a charge bolt build, the build wouldn't change much. Furthermore, even if I were making a fire build, you wouldn't believe it. However, some aspects would be exactly the same as in any other sorcerer build. For example, the elemental constellation aspect is used when playing with any element. The Armageddon aspect is the same, just like the Eldruin sword is used in any build for farming, so don't be surprised. I won't repeat the previous build in detail because that wouldn't please you or YouTube, but it's also useless to send you to watch it, since you wouldn't go anyway. Therefore, I'm forced to briefly remind you of everything and explain the differences from the previous build, even though there aren't many. Alright, let's go. Skill rotation. As soon as you enter a location, you need to approach the mobs before attacking. Then hold down Chain Lightning for damage and use Teleport when necessary or available. Our Teleport is not only for movement, but also a skill, which gives us crackling energy at the destination point after each use. The crackling energy itself is not only additional damage, but also a critically necessary multiplicative damage increase and ultimate cooldown reduction. The gameplay isn't perfectly smooth, I know, but nothing can be done about it. The game lags on some characters and builds at different times. Having everything be smooth for everyone is not possible. Simultaneously with your first attack, press your ultimate, which during its entire duration collects crackling energy lying near the hero, so as I mentioned earlier, increasing our lightning damage from any source, and the ultimate also reduces its own cooldown. Press Ice Armor and Familiar on cooldown, but there's a nuance here. If you don't have a teleport ready to use, pressing Familiar gives you an overpower charge, which allows you to instantly reset teleport's cooldown. More on movement later. Place Hydra into all groups of mobs to reduce the cooldown of all skills and to freeze mobs. Chain Lightning is our core skill, and when using the unique amulet on a lucky hit, it gives us lightning spears, which provide us with their bonuses upgraded in the skill tree, including crackling energy. Additionally, from the amulet, we get movement speed and incoming damage reduction. Also indirectly from the amulet, we get additional critical strike chance through the aspect on the boots. With advanced gear, it's more profitable to use the amulet shown in the planner. More details on this in the gear section. The goal is to collect crackling energy and deal damage. We deal our main damage with Chain Lightning from any distance it can reach, and it can reach enemies in a chain across 2 screens or even further. Gear. Helmet, Air of Perdition. In the final setup, it's important to get a greater affix to critical strike chance. Tempering on helmet for maximum life, masterworking to critical strike chance. Harlequin Crest is not relevant this season and appears in some builds only because the author wants to maximize the differences in the build, even if it's clearly bad. Harlequin Crest clearly loses to Air of Perdition here and now in this season and build. Armor, Raiment of the Infinite. Desired stats, life, intelligence, armor, and something else for defense. Not getting all 4 desired stats is normal for this armor. I mean, it's difficult. Tempering to maximum life, masterworking to life as well. In the cube, set the aspect value to reduce damage by at least 45%. For the reason mentioned earlier, you could put Tyrael's Might into the build, but it won't provide more defense than Raiment of the Infinite. Gloves with the elemental constellation aspect. Critical strike damage multiplier is the most important stat. Ideally, all stats here should be for offense, but you can also take life since we have more than enough damage for farming Torment 12. The aspect works because on our bar we have 2 cold skills, Ice Armor and Hydra, 2 fire skills, Familiar and Teleport, and 2 lightning skills, Ultimate and Chain Lightning itself. Tempering to critical strike damage, masterworking to critical strike damage multiplier. Pants with the Mage Lord's aspect. This reduces damage taken, all stats for defense and life, tempering to maximum life. The second option is the unique pants, Axial Conduit. You can use them, but in their current state they are weak and it's better to get additional survivability because there are no problems with damage sufficient for very fast farming in this build. Unique boots, Essu's Heirloom. Adjust the aspect in the cube to 35+ to increase critical strike chance, more on which later. All stats are desirable for survivability and movement speed. Tempering to movement speed, masterworking to life or intelligence. Masterworking to movement speed is not necessary. Weapon, Eldruin Sword. Stats for life and damage. Thanks to its mythic aspect, we have a conditionally permanent teleport. Tempering to attack speed. Masterworking to the strongest greater affix stat. Unique Amulet, Fractured Winterglass. Stats for damage and survivability. The main stat is the critical strike damage multiplier. The second aspect added through the cube is the Shredding Blades aspect. If you don't know how the cube works, there's a video on the channel. Tempering to critical strike damage. Masterworking to critical strike damage multiplier. With advanced gear, it's more profitable to use the amulet shown in the planner. This is a legendary amulet with the overwhelming currents aspect. Since the aspect is on the amulet itself increases the power of any aspect imprinted on it by 50%. The second aspect added through the cube is the same Shredding Blades aspect. First ring, Ring of Starless Skies, gives critical strike chance and other stats. Tempering to critical strike damage, masterworking to critical strike chance. It is taken for the damage multiplier in its aspect and the ability to reduce mana cost. Second ring, legendary with the Armageddon aspect, all stats for offense. Tempering to critical strike damage, masterworking to critical strike damage multiplier. Offhand, legendary with the splintering energy aspect if using the legendary amulet, or with the overwhelming currents aspect if you are using the unique amulet, Fractured Winterglass. Stats for offense and defense, tempering to attack speed, masterworking to critical strike damage multiplier. Skills. Chain Lightning is maxed out with its upgrade nodes. The first upgrade doubles the damage to the first target in the chain, the second upgrade generates crackling energy on a critical strike, and the third increases the skill's damage. Chain Lightning itself is our main damage skill, but it also triggers automatically from the ultimate and from enchantments, which I'll cover later. In both cases of automatic triggering, all bonuses from Chain Lightning's upgrade nodes work. Next skill, Charge Bolts. Charge Bolts have two support nodes. The first increases movement speed and gives an additional bolt. The second one applies weakness to enemies and also gives an additional bolt. This skill triggers automatically when the ultimate is active. Next skill, Teleport with its upgrade nodes. The first applies weakness to enemies, the second generates 2 crackling energy at the landing point. The third is the foundation of our mobility. It turns Teleport into the fire element and consumes 1 overpowered charge for a fast cooldown reduction. More on the teleport mechanic later. Next, we upgrade Ice Armor. The first node reduces its cooldown, the second increases the armor's duration and its strength. The third gives us Unstoppable on each activation and increases our armor by 50%. Hydra. The first node gives an additional head for every few stacks of overpower. The second node reduces the cooldown of all skills when Hydra attacks. The third node converts damage to cold and applies stacks of chill on each attack. Hydra's attacks are counted per head, meaning 3 heads shooting once equals 3 attacks, 4 heads from the upgrade node equals 4 attacks. Familiar. The first node gives +1 familiar. The second node increases its duration. The third node gives stacks of overpower and heals us. Lightning Spear. The first node gives additional movement speed to the spears, which is important for receiving bonuses from Lucky Hit. The second node increases damage. The third node doubles the spears and stuns enemies. Ball Lightning. The first node gives a stack of ferocity on use. Ball Lightning is triggered automatically by the Tal Rasha set and the ultimate. The second node gives us 3 crackling energy when the lightning ball disappears. The third node makes the balls not fly away but spin around the hero, dealing damage on each contact with a target. Next is the Blizzard skill. The first node gives us a barrier. The second node increases mana regeneration. The third applies chill to enemies. This skill is also triggered passively by the Talisman set. Next is the Meteor skill. The first upgrade node immobilizes mobs. The second node gives a stack of overpower. The third converts damage to cold. This node acts more as a defense, chilling and freezing enemies. Meteor also triggers automatically from the Tal Rasha set. The last skill is the ultimate skill, Unstable Currents. In our build, only it and Chain Lightning are maxed out. All other skills are taken once except for Ice Armor, into which we invest all remaining points. Even then, Ice Armor still doesn't reach max rank. While the ultimate is active, any cast from our skill bar causes one of the listed skills to trigger automatically. The first upgrade node reduces the ultimate's cooldown to 100 seconds. The second upgrade node multiplicatively increases our damage from shock skills. The third node generates a crackling energy on a lucky hit. Each time crackling energy is absorbed regardless of its source, our damage and the ultimate's cooldown reduction progress. Additionally, bonuses to shock skills on gear do not reduce the ultimate's cooldown. They extend its duration, thereby giving the ultimate more time to accumulate the damage, multiplier, and cooldown reduction by increasing the time to collect crackling energy. Past a certain threshold of bonuses to shock skills, our ultimate has no cooldown. Achieving this is not difficult. Average gear is enough, and the ultimate will be active all the time. It is additionally reduced, like all other skills, by Hydra. Enchantments. For enchantments, we use Chain Lightning and Arclash. Chain Lightning strikes additionally when 100 mana is spent. The second node gives us additional defense in the form of prolonged stun to enemies when using any skill with a cooldown. Critical strike chance. Base. Critical strike chance is given by our helmet and ring. A small amount is also provided by the dexterity stat. The amulet also gives critical strike chance thanks to the legendary aspect. It states that for each active conjuration unit, we get 5% movement speed, increased damage, and reduced incoming damage. Thanks to the affix on the boots, we gain a bonus to critical strike chance equal to 40% of the bonus to movement speed. However, importantly, this bonus is calculated only up to the movement speed cap of 200. Any movement speed above 200, which thanks to the amulet's bonus could be 235, does not provide a bonus to critical strike chance. You can see your critical strike chance under all buffs in any location. It's most convenient on the training dummy. It should definitely be above 95% and preferably 100%. If it's lower, you can increase it using a rune word for critical strike chance. If you have a greater affix on critical strike chance on both your ring and helmet, and your master working is also done on critical strike chance, then you can forego the critical strike chance on your gloves in favor of any other stat. The best alternative is attack speed. However, refer to the breakpoint table for a one-handed weapon with an offhand for Chain Lightning, which you see on the screen. Talismans. In this build, we use the Talrasha set. It gives us automatic activation of master skills. This is precisely why we level them in the skill tree, even though they are not on our bar. Overall, this results in a strong buff to our damage. Once you get 2 or 3 talismans with +2 or +3 to shock skills, the problem with the ultimate's cooldown will disappear. Movement. We move mainly using teleport. Some call it permanent or infinite, which is a lie. It is not permanent unless, of course, you know the meaning of the word permanent. It was permanent before Season 11, and now some Blizzard partners, instead of working to bring it back, lie about its existence. Our teleport works in any variation only due to the aspect on the sword or the presence of mobs. If the aspect is not working, that is, for every 12 seconds not an elite was killed, then there is no teleport. If there are no mobs for the other variation, then there is also no teleport. Make sure your teleport cooldown is no more than 10 seconds. If it's longer, consider adding skill cooldowns to your gloves or jewelry. Press Familiar, get an overpower stack to reset teleport's cooldown. Meteor Falls, that also gives a charge. No overpower charge, no teleport, either the aspect on the sword or an overpower stack. Furthermore, we cannot hold down both buttons, Chain Lightning and Teleport, at the same time. Either keep the teleport button held down and press the Chain Lightning button when necessary to deal damage, or conversely hold down the Chain Lightning button and press teleport when a jump is necessary. So it's perfectly playable, but it's not as comfortable and smooth as it was in Seasons 8, 9, or 10, but it's tolerable. Rune Words, Paragon, and Mercenaries are in the planner. That's everything on the fastest build for farming Torment 12. Although there is little time left in Season 13, I hope this Chain Lightning build guide will be useful to you. If you liked it, hit the like button and I would appreciate a subscription. Thanks for watching. Bye.